Peter Wells, the Director of Centre for Automotive Industry Research at Cardiff University. Peter, welcome back. Let's just pick up on this viewpoint from Germany, if you will, just for a moment. I mean, the suggestion from Germany that perhaps the biggest losers from the EU's crackdown might well be European brands that the EU is trying to protect.
Well, of course, this is, I think, a pretty accurate assessment, but you could argue that the biggest losers will, in fact, be European consumers, because they're going to be denied the opportunity to buy those vehicles at what would have been relatively reasonable prices, and it might even take some of the pressure off European manufacturers to bring in those low-cost EVs that they've been promising. So, yes, the industry, but also, yes, consumers.
Let's get this right. EU car makers that build electric vehicles in China and then import them back into Europe will now be hit potentially with a 21% additional duty tax. I wonder, can they absorb that if it goes ahead while maintaining profit margins?
It's very difficult for the companies to absorb the whole of that sort of tariff. I would say that it depends a bit on the vehicles and the segments, but already Tesla has announced that their Model 3 coming out of China will have price rises imposed very soon as a result of this tariff. Whether it's the full tariff price rise remains to be seen. It's likely to be split somewhere between consumers paying more and vehicle manufacturers earning less.
This comes, doesn't it, after the United States considerably increased tariffs on electric vehicles from China just a few weeks ago, last month, from 25% to 100%. Is this simply the story of the EU following the United States?
Well, the European Union as a whole and the manufacturers in it are in a somewhat different position. And in particular, the European manufacturers have been much more integrated with those coming from China. But bear in mind also that China isn't just strong in terms of finished vehicles. It's actually a really strong player in the battery segment. You know, most of the big independent producers are either Chinese or Korean, and China has a really strong position on those critical minerals that are needed to build those battery packs. So when you're looking at cobalt, lithium, magnesium, all those other materials needed for batteries, China and Chinese companies are major players in this. So the worry, I think, for Europe is not just that we engage in a tit-for-tat war over the finished vehicles, but that China uses its leverage on materials to really squeeze supply to European manufacturers and indeed to American. We could end up with a three-way international trade war, which will be good for nobody.
Just one final thought. China says it's going to toddle off to the World Trade Organization. I mean, is this the last word on this spat, or is there room for negotiation?
Oh, there's always room. I think what we'll see here is that now that the European Union have announced their position, we're going to see probably much tighter negotiation and discussions. As your reporter observed, nobody across Europe is really thrilled about this, some more so than others, but it does promise significant disruption for the industry here, and I think that lobby alone would want to see some sort of more sensible negotiated settlement, at least, to buy the European industry time, which is ultimately, I think, the purpose of this intervention.
Peter, good to see you. Thanks for coming back on the programme. Peter Wells, the Director of the Centre for Automotive Industry Research at Cardiff University.